Hello, and welcome to the first ever edition of our newly dubbed podcast titled On the Button. My name is Matt Valeo, and I'm joined today by Brian Rast, Poker Hall of Famer, as well as legendary Vegas grinder, tournament player Eric Baldwin. We're going to just have a discussion about current events, crypto, what's going on with Phenom Poker, and whatever else they feel like chatting about. Welcome, guys. So the first topic of conversation is Bitcoin. The big news is Bitcoin recently hit 100K. A lot of excitement in the crypto community. We're excited at Phenom Poker particularly because one of our general thesis in starting the site was kind of where crypto is going. We wanted to build for the future. We wanted people to, or we wanted to think about, the direction of money and the direction of how people transact, and when we're thinking about building Phenom Poker. So it's nice to see about a year after we kicked off the project, things are kind of going as we expected. I know you, Brian, in particular, are a huge crypto enthusiast. I'd love to get your thoughts on Bitcoin, crypto, online poker. You have it, you name it.
Well, it's a lot of topics. I'm going to start with the one you opened with crypto. But I mean, listen, I share my thoughts, not all of them, but I share some of them on Twitter. And, I've definitely thought that we were going to be where we are in terms of Bitcoin price. I mean, a while ago I offered some bet that nobody took me up on, but part of it was like, okay, like pay me 5-1 or 6-1 on Bitcoin 3xing from like 35K to 111K. And if you don't want to bet me, then you should maybe buy Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And so
I find it interesting because like it's not hard to find detractors like on Twitter.
There's always going to be. It's the way it works.
And all these guys, but like I find it they never want to put their own money against Bitcoin, right? Like why is that?
Well, I think like most people in life are not used to really backing up their opinion in the way a professional poker player or gambler is, right? So, I mean, one of the things I learned early on in my career, it's a little bit separate from this, is that, like, I like betting on my opinion. I learned, actually, the person who I learned this the most from I'd say, be Antonio Esfandiari, one of my good friends who does this a lot. Like, he's not around the poker world as much as he used to be, but just whether it's Laden Thanks or this or betting people at the poker table, which he did all the time in tournaments. And so it's kind of like, okay, like I'm right a lot. So why don't I just bet people I can make money? And it's worked out pretty well. And, I understand why people can be skeptical of Bitcoin, right? Like I think anyone who found Bitcoin at some point honestly needs to say there was probably a period before you got into it where it just kind of sounded dumb. Right? Because I had heard about Bitcoin, I don't know, like 2012 or 2013, just being around poker, and it's like my con, at the World Series or this, or like people are using Bitcoin to play online or something on seals and this. And so it's like, I had been in Macau and I knew people used it there, in order to like move money around. But it just, as I wasn't into it, I'm just like, oh, it's this internet money. Like, why do I need an internet money? Like, it sounds like pretty useless to me. So for years, I'd never deep dived, unfortunately, because the price was even lower back then. But it's like one of the things that's kind of a common theme in Bitcoin that people say is like, you buy Bitcoin at the price you deserve, right? In fact, it's this is going to be a very rambly speech here, guys, but it's like one of the things about Bitcoin is like, it really has the immaculate conception within crypto. It was founded by someone we don't even know who it is, Satoshi, who's gone. So there's no head to the Hydra, right? There's no place this can get cut off. There's no like point of failure with that. It was no pre-mined coins, like nothing given out either to the creator or to investors. Everything was mined like equitably from the very start. You just had to know about it and find out about it and get into it, right? Or purchase it, mine it. I mean, back in the day, there weren't like miners like there were today. It was like people doing it on their computers. It was so small, right? It traded literally for nothing and then cents. And I mean, there will be nothing like that comes up. Like its moat, you want to talk about moats in business, its moat is like the size of the Pacific Ocean. There doesn't exist a moat as big as Bitcoin. That's why it's like people want to say, oh, crypto this, crypto that. I mean, listen, Bitcoin has such a big potential use case. Like I think it's pretty big. Oh, we're going to pass gold's market cap, this and that. I mean, listen to Saylor and some other people talk about its potential, future use cases, which are even way, way, way bigger than that, talking bonds and stuff. So it's just like Bitcoin is this thing that the more you kind of deep dive about it, the more you realize like it's this special kind of moment in humanity of like changing money. Like we have access to this completely equitable ability for anyone in the world to buy sats up to full Bitcoins. It's kind of been that way since the beginning. You come in at the price you deserve. But at the same time, I realize, because I was once there, why people who don't know about it would be skeptical. The thing is that Bitcoin is just proving those people wrong. Like every year that goes by, every bear market it's had where it's gone down 80% and didn't go to zero. It wasn't tulips. It wasn't some scam. It wasn't a pump and dump. Why is that? It's because the people who really believe, the people someone who'd been in Bitcoin since 10 cents, $1, $100, they might not want to buy, like Bitcoin might be some huge part of their net worth. They might not want to buy when it went to 60K in 2021. But when it goes down to 16K after another exchange, like scam and is out, right? Like FTX, they might be thinking about buying now. They've been there, done that. They see, okay, 85% drawdown. Like this is the time to buy. And this is definitely, if they're not going to buy, this is not the time to sell. I'm not selling now. So it's just, it's a market that I don't think people realize that there are so many people that believe fervently in Bitcoin that like it's stopped itself from dying multiple times. And now we're at a moment where it's like the world is starting to accept Bitcoin. Not starting, it has accepted Bitcoin as a real asset class. It has ETFs. It's like getting legally protected. Governments are holding it. Companies are holding it. Like it's over.
Countries are putting it in reserve.
Like it's happening right now. And like the end game is passing gold and much bigger than that. So it's like, oh, I've missed it. You haven't missed it yet. Now you missed like the crazy phase where you could buy $10 Bitcoin and it's going to like 10,000, 100,000x in your lifetime or something. Sure. You missed that. But it's like, okay, you could buy 100,000 Bitcoin today and in like 10 or 15 years, it could pretty easily be 1 million. In 40 years, it could pretty easily be higher than that. It's a pretty sick investment still. And it's going to do that at like a really high success rate. So yeah, like you didn't take a super big risk early on in Bitcoin when a lot of things could have gone wrong and Bitcoin passed all those tests. You're not going to turn like 1,000 into like $10 million. It's not going to happen. But you want like a great high EV investment that can still perform really well over a long time frame. Bitcoin's still the answer.
It's still very early too.
Yeah.
I would argue.
A chunk of money to like a traditional investment guy and tells him to put it to work. He's getting some Bitcoin exposure.
Well,
these
nowadays
days, right?
there are some people that will get that answer back and some people that won't. If you go back even like 3 years ago, zero would ever get that answer back. In fact, this is one of my favorite Bitcoin memes is this one right here. Let me got to show you this. Bitcoin has the best fucking memes. It's one of the beautiful things about it. But it's like this it's a meme that's literally about this. Here.
I've seen that one, yeah.
And he said his financial advisor advised him not to. It's just like, I mean, listen, financial advisors, I know one financial advisor, some guy who like basically he's like into poker and he ended up talking to me, like really wanted it. I've done one product through him, which is this kind of cool, like you basically buy life insurance and you invest in it over 5 years and it can like track the S&P. Not quite as good, but then like really the cool thing about it isn't the life insurance. It's that starting in 10 plus years, you basically can like take out money tax free.
Nice.
It's pretty cool little product.
You're talking about whole life.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's like at this point I've started talking to him about, and it's like one of the things you realize these financial advisors, they fucking don't know shit.
Yeah.
Like I am
They're just
better with the
following a
market than
playbook,
this guy.
right?
Like, cause when we're talking about what we want to do, like a year ago, he was like, man, I'm pretty like, you got to think about taking the like, cause you can do different things and you can have some like 2% APR interest if you're like bearish on the market. And he was that 2 years ago. I'm like, I don't know about that. No. Right. I'm just saying like they fucking don't know, and he's like, oh, Bitcoin, but like, oh, a lot of my investors are conservative. They don't want to do it. It's like, so I always bring it up to him because he's a financial advisor. And like, I mean, if you ever follow me on Twitter, like I can't help talking about Bitcoin. But the truth is like, it's like, it should be a part of every financial portfolio. You're a fucking retard if you aren't invested in Bitcoin in some sense. Like it's been the best performing asset of 15 years, may or may not be moving forward because it's already gotten so big, but it's like Sharpe ratio is incredible. Like return given adjusted risk. Obviously in the past it was super high vol, much higher risk, but like incredible return. It's still going to be like a very good return, but like the risk at this point is way lower than it used to be.
Yeah.
So its Sharpe ratio is still like incredible. Like it's just like should be a part of like every, even discerning investor's financial portfolio. 100%. Like whether you're a large allocation or a small allocation, like all are reasonable. But for you just to be like you're saying, like not in Bitcoin, I just, you've done zero research on it.
Yeah.
Like, as I said, like, I think if you spend a couple hours, like, actually researching, reading, like, the thesis, like, why it's bullish and certain arguments about it, and not even just that, like, understanding, like, where might this go, right? Let me put it this way. You're not into it, so I'll give it to you. So we're talking about gold. Okay, yes, gold has some real-life applications, like jewelry and a few industrial applications.
Right.
But most of gold is just being held in, like, vaults or coins or whatever as, like, a store of value. Mm-hmm. It's a shitty store of value, and even worse as a money. It's an okay store of value. That's wrong. But it's a shitty form of money because it's not divisible. It's heavy.
It's only a good store of value because everyone agrees it's valuable.
No one uses gold as collateral. This is a really big one. So I'm going to get here. Bitcoin. It's a store of value from the sense of there's a defined supply, 21 million coins, like defined ratio. Like SpaceX is taking us to space. What if we find gold on asteroids? Like we're finding gold all the time. Like the supply is not fixed. Mm-hmm. Let's just go there. Next step. Bitcoin is a much better version of Western Union. International remittance, it crushes. That's part of the reason why El Salvador, look into it, made it legal and put it on the state. Like they're getting international remittance from people outside of El Salvador. Free transactions into the country. It's huge because they get a lot of their revenue from foreign citizens sending money. Even if your state doesn't do it, Bitcoin's like $1 or less or for a transaction. It crushes Western Union even for $100 transactions.
Yeah.
Okay. Third, offshore banking and or private storage of funds. Whether or not you're using it as a form of offshore banking or you live in a country with an autocratic government. Okay. Like what if you're some rich dude, you're worried about what happens in the next 20-year time horizon, depending on who takes power in your country. You need 50 million and you can get the fuck out of Dodge and it can't be seized. Way better than any money in a bank. You can't, anything physical. Okay, it has the best private security solution if you ever look into it. And now this is when it gets, how big can Bitcoin get? It can get so fucking big. Listen to Michael Saylor and he sounds like a fucking crazy man, but he's actually not. Is that Bitcoin, unlike it, can be collateralized. It can start to replace like the bond market. Like it can be used in loans of all different kinds, right? Like, so, so now we're talking about like almost like a form of digital property of sorts, or like, a digital asset. And gold is like just not even in that space. So it's like, oh, is it going to overtake gold, which is like an 8x? And that's if gold doesn't go up. Sure. But like the upside is way more than that. So it's like, we're still talking about 100,000. Like, how old are you?
42.
Okay. Same age as me. Like we're still talking, I'm talking like Bitcoin's probably going to be 1 million by 2040, if not sooner. But like the upside if things work out is in 30 or 40 by the time we're old, like Bitcoin could be 10 million. So that's 100x in the rest of our life. Like it's totally, now fiat will inflate. So 100x isn't quite,
sure.
It's a little bit less, but that's still outpacing fiat inflation, which by the way, if you look at the S&P index, it pretty much increases at the rate of real fiat inflation.
Really?
As a scared asset. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, I think like, it just, you like haven't thought about it very deeply, in my opinion, which is fine because a lot of people
I just never had any extra money.
A lot of people don't think about it, right? Like they're not thinking about investing that deeply, but like you really haven't thought about it if you're not in Bitcoin at this point, in my opinion. Like you just have no fucking like okay. Well, I'll just say because my investment thesis, what I'm doing with my money is like my largest investment is Bitcoin, and that's my high EV, but like relatively high risk side of my investment. It used to be much higher risk. And pretty much my other goal is like my main barbell is to then like take it out and put it in real estate, which is much safer and generates a passive income. and done. And I'm not saying I won't have other things I do, but that's like the big double barbell.
Nice.
Right?
Good
and
for you, man. That's
so I don't know, but like it's
good spot.
You don't have to be that heavy, but like zero Bitcoin, I just don't get it.
Okay.
That was my I'm trying to get Baldwin to buy Bitcoins.
Before it's all
Bitcoin
said and done, Eric Baldwin's going to own some Bitcoin. I think I would bet on that.
I'm sold. You guys have been putting me through the pain.
I have gotten a lot of people to buy. It's there's no doubt. My friend group all loves me right now because
they own
you
Bitcoin.
think I go hard on Twitter. We don't even know each other. Imagine me with a good friend of mine.
Jeez, I can't escape it. I got the algorithm, 100. I'm sitting here. I'm just like, I'm just a poor guy in the corner, but I like crypto.
No. I mean, listen, I'm a little different than that. I like crypto. Crypto, what Phenom's doing, there's a lot of good things that'll happen on crypto that are of value. If you're not an expert, you're not doing crypto as a part-time job, this is not necessarily the most popular opinion. It's like most of crypto you should not like invest a ton in. Like you want to just you're not going to, this is going to be some main thing. You're putting some money in something, you're going to walk away. You don't want to worry about it. Bitcoin is the answer for those people. Like,
perfect.
You know, you play on Phenom, great. You're going to have the Phenom token. You get a part of the rake. That's awesome. There are applications on crypto which will do well. This is, Phenom looks like it's going to be one of them. I'm hyped about it. But it's like someone who doesn't play poker, right, and they want to invest in crypto, like they're probably not going to be into Phenom. Like they might not be into it. It's like you shouldn't look at like, oh, ETH or Sol or Dogecoin or Obama Sonic 69, whatever. Like, no, dude, you just buy Bitcoin. You put in an amount of money that is not going to, like, you're not going to be like sweating the price chart every day because it's going to do volatile things. Mm-hmm. And you just walk away for 10 years. And then in 10 years, you go and you send me a thank you note. You're like, Brian, thank you. I'm about to buy a house with half my Bitcoin. I appreciate that. And I'll be like, you know what? That's okay. At some point, it is okay to sell. Like, I'm not one of those, like, it's dicey. All I'm saying is that there does reach a moment where it can become a big enough part of your net worth that it can make sense for most people who are not already super wealthy outside of Bitcoin to then, like, you do want to enjoy your life.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And, but even as a person who's done that and Bitcoin does become, it's like, I'm never selling all my Bitcoin. It's never happening. I'm never selling most of my Bitcoin. But am I going to, like, again, the barbell thesis? Where does the real estate money come from? Well, it's got to come from somewhere. It's going to come from Bitcoin, for better or worse. But this is the way. What people realize is, like, I know listen, if you've been DCAing and you have, like, not that much Bitcoin, I get it. You might never want to sell the small amount of Bitcoin that you have. But for, like, early adopters who put really serious fucking money in and then they have a lot of Bitcoin and it becomes a huge portion of their net worth, does make sense to, like, do something. But by the way, like, this is the way. Why is it the way? Because how does something become a global money that's adopted by everyone? Well, it doesn't have, like, 5,000 people that own, like, most of it. Eventually those people distribute and it becomes more, like, distributed among the whole entire world ownership-wise. So it's like the only way that happens is, people that were early investors and really took a big shot do have to sell their tokens. That's like the way it's going to go. I don't know. Anyway.
Assuming fiat sticks around forever, right?
Well, I mean, it's like the thing is the people who really could make the play is somebody like Saylor or like Chamath or these guys who have gotten in early and they're already billionaires. And they don't need to sell their Bitcoin. And it's like they could.
Saylor owns 2% of the.
Well, no, he doesn't. That's MicroStrategy.
Well, Saylor, yeah, of course.
I think he only owns 10% of MicroStrategy, even though his controlling interest is like 50.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm using Saylor and MicroStrategy here synonymously, right? Because MicroStrategy is the one that's buying tons of Bitcoin every month. But still, like to be the founder or controller of a company that owns 2% of the supply of something so massive is pretty impressive when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously fueling adoption.
He's quite the visionary when you listen to him. It's like, I mean, even as somebody who's like pro Bitcoin, it's like Saylor, man, he's like really going for it. So it's like pretty, I mean, he's obviously a super intelligent guy. I've actually gone to dinner with Saylor and spoke with him, and it's.
I heard you made it onto his yacht.
I did, yeah. he's like, I mean, it's very interesting to talk to him, and as somebody who's into Bitcoin, like hearing everything he has to say is, I mean, it's like wild to find somebody intelligent, dialed in, a company that's about to join the S&P 500. Really, it'll be in there in the next year or two.
Yeah,
and like his vision for Bitcoin is almost like it's way bigger than even mine was. You know, and it's like shaping it in a very, it's like, here's an intelligent investor whose vision is so big, and like he's first, just as a Bitcoiner, like you have to appreciate what he's doing to like make it happen, and his like faith and drive. But I mean, it's kind of inspiring in a way of like, okay, wow, like I'm thinking like gold's market cap, or, you know, a lot of early Bitcoiners, and it's like, nope, the target's like some percent of all assets in the world, like bonds. And it's like, okay, all right, man, like let's see what happens. It's exciting.
I mean, it's always interesting to peer into the mind of the people that see the world a little bit differently, because you know, you have early adopters, which are typically intelligent, curious people, but then you have the people before them, the founders, really the people who changed the world. And it's pretty clear at this point, Bitcoin has changed the world already. It's still, in my opinion, very early in terms of capturing what's possible in terms of real wealth and asset and and you know, like I think money is going to continue to flow into Bitcoin, and it'll be representative of some part of the world's overall wealth. Saylor clearly agrees with that, but you know, 10 years ago, everyone thought Saylor was just like completely out of his mind. And now you can't turn on CNBC or MSNBC or something without a Saylor interview, you know, at least like once a week, once a month. Yeah. So, you know, people start to listen at some point, but if no one ever thinks you're crazy, then, you know, it's unlikely
Probably
that
not dreaming big enough.
The thing's not going to be that disruptive, right? If everyone agrees with you from the very beginning, that's typically not going to be a very disruptive technology or whatever else. Drawing the conversation back to online poker, because we had started a thought where we're talking about the token and what makes it different, decentralized ownership, things like that. You were starting to make some points around the industry kind of paying lip service, and I think that's like really worth talking about, because, you know, ever since the early days of Phenom getting out there, and, you know, starting these like public conversations around like, why are we doing this? You know, it was the point that I've been driving home for a while, and now there's actually turns out to be some like more concrete evidence that's speaking. There was like a Bloomberg article that was a reporter was spending significant time researching and talking with like the founders of a Russian bot farm, who turns out wasn't just making money by, you know, putting profitable bots onto some of these sites. They were also making money by actually contracting with these sites to provide liquidity. And it goes back to some of the original questions that I was asking, you know, well over a year ago, which is, if you have a site who's not very transparent in its practices, right? Like, they don't really show us what's going on behind the scenes. They're not really displaying like who are the owners, who are the decision makers. Like, it's all very like hush hush behind closed door kind of stuff. And you're a site and you have, let's just say, you know that bots are generating $100 million annually in rake, which is maybe 20 to 25% of your total revenue. What is your incentive to turn those bots off? And I always get crickets when I ask that question, because if you listen to Twitter, or you listen to some sleuths on Twitter, like, you know, who want to be experts, you know, they'll be like, oh, well, these sites have been trying to solve this problem for years, or they have massive security budgets, or they do tons of revenue. So if they can't solve it, then it just can't be solved. And I'm just like, if you show me the incentive, and I'll show you the outcome. You know what I mean? Like, and this is typically true in business. Like, you show me where the incentive model is, and I can typically tell you like the general direction that this thing is going to end up. And I don't think online poker is any different. I think that there are solutions It may not be cheap or easy to solve, but I just do not believe that there is non-existent solutions to this problem. And I also don't believe that when you look at a clear incentive mismatch, a misalignment of incentive between the player and the operator, I don't believe that the operators are operating against their own best interest. And historically speaking, I haven't seen any evidence that would support that happening. Which is why I draw back to Phenom, and Phenom never claimed to have like some magical technology solution to solving bots. It's more about setting the correct alignment of incentives. Who is the operator? Who is the player? Where does the money come from? And if we are going to solve this problem and we'll have an incentive to continue to solve this problem, then we need to make sure that the player and the operator don't have opposing interests. And I think that ultimately is what the Phenom token is all about. And I'd like to open that up to you guys because obviously, when we first talked, like Eric, this was like almost a year ago. Brian, this was same thing. I think maybe in January, February, we talked about this stuff. A lot of these concepts were like still in ideation, like the token wasn't even coded yet. There's been some changes. I'd love to just open it up to you guys and kind of get your guys' thoughts on
that's a big part of the reason I'm on board. It's been I've been around the game a long time now, and it's been incredibly frustrating. When you don't have a ton of options to begin with, and then when the sites that you're playing on, when you feel like the wants and needs of the players aren't being met or even addressed or just being given lip service, it gets incredibly frustrating. And like you said, when the incentives aren't aligned, it's hard to have a whole lot of faith that they're doing a lot of things on the back end that they say they are. So the incentive structure with Phenom and not only the structure. Look, I think poker players just by nature we're probably a little skeptical by nature, which is cool. We've been snake bit before. A lot of us have been through Black Friday. We've all got some trust issues probably.
Serious PTSD from Black Friday. I still feel that what I felt the day I woke up, and it's like, this domain has been seized by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You're like, what?
Yeah, I definitely remember where I was. And it is a little bit difficult to grasp at first, and then there's also a level of skepticism, like, well, can that really be the case? But from everything I've seen playing on Phenom thus far, it's got a good community feel to it. People are blown away by the customer service. Like when people have issues or find a bug or something, they're like shocked that they bring it up on Discord or they bring it up elsewhere, and they're getting immediate responses and things are getting addressed. The site's improving. The gameplay itself and the feel of the site is good. It's like one thing I was blown away by is just like how big of a difference in feel a chat box can have, because like all the sites that I've been playing on the last few years just did away with chat. Like we get hit with COVID lockdown, we're limited in the amount of things we can do, and now on online poker I can't even like talk trash to somebody I'm playing with. So I'd kind of forgotten like the kind of dynamic that brings to the game, but it's been like refreshing playing on Phenom, even when people are like spatting at each other, and it brings more of like a community feel, and it feels like you're playing against real players. You're not like dealing with the same suspicious timing, and not having a whole lot of confidence that this account has been vetted or KYC'd. It feels like poker, and I've been enjoying it so far.
I love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say there's like kind of two main reasons. So I think the first one, which is the one we've touched on and I commented on earlier in this podcast about just, like for me, I mean, I've been around the poker world for a long time. I've done quite a bit, I feel like I was just recognized for that with my Hall of Fame induction. But it's like I haven't really been involved with that many things, given that. And I spent a lot of my career as a cash game player before even getting into tournaments, and I kind of got into tournaments post Black Friday when nobody cared about American players, when I had all the tournament success. And it's like, I'd kind of even, so it was like, I want to be associated with something that I believe in. And just from talking with Matt, one of the things that drew me to Phenom was, your attempt, and then consequently Phenom's attempt to like really try to be a site. I mean, let's be honest, like the state of online poker is pretty grim. Like computers only get faster, solvers only get better, and it's easier and easier to RTA and cheat and do all kinds of things. And not that many people have confidence in online poker anymore. And it's like, and why should they, when the incentive structure for most sites is not to do anything about it, but to in fact like, let's just do a thought experiment, gang. 25% of revenue comes from bots and liquidity. So let's say you're like, we're going to stop the bots. Okay. Let's not even say that they're hiring the bots to play, but okay, we're going to stop. Do you think it's just 25% of rake that gets cut? No, it's going to be more because it's the bot rake plus games that would go otherwise that don't because you don't have the bots because the bots are always available to play. So it might be half the rake or more. Like, it's a pretty tough spot for the sites. And so as a business, like corporate greed, man, it's everywhere. It's screwing up everything in all kinds of situations. And it's like, Matt, not only did he strike me off the bat as somebody who's getting into this for different reasons, but he's also even said, okay, like, what's a common saying in Bitcoin? Like, don't trust, verify, right? Or trust but verify, however you want to put it. But the point is the verify. Well, you can verify the process here that it's with the token distribution and like site decision model that like Phenom like won't have that problem because it's going to be over time like mostly owned by the players who will be making the decision and clearly won't want bots to play. It's like, will the problem be able to be solved? Like, I can't tell you whether or not it will be because this like a cat and mouse game of security and whatever. But like, at least I felt like Phenom is trying to do the right thing. And my second point, for me personally, is like I really haven't played online poker since Black Friday. I just became like a live player, basically. And Phenom is kind of like the first time I've been like piqued my interest in like maybe playing a little bit of online poker here and there again because why? I mean, first is like, I kind of play mix games more. Like if I play cash now, I basically play mix. And like Phenom is already the best site on the internet in its infancy to play mix, has the most games, the most mixes, all this stuff. So that was, just number one, the most exciting thing to me personally. And then like the other thing that I probably would still play some online would be tournaments, which like Phenom doesn't have going yet, but will have going soon. And so like, a site that is kind of like what I would want to play online poker right now anyway, when I, sit around is like play some mix, play a tournament here or there. And Phenom, so like Phenom's going to do that. So I mean, it's kind of hit the two bases of like something I can believe in and put my name behind, and like something I'd probably want to play on anyways. So
how about just the simple fact, kind of like I was talking about how big of a deal a chat box is. How about the fact that Phenom has a roadmap and it lists out the things it's going to do and prioritize? Seems like a pretty simple thing that other sites could be doing. I mean, there's no shortage of like player feedback, like, hey guys, we'd like to see this, that, and the other thing. I don't see any other sites putting up roadmaps and then like having a team of people with like a strong tone of we're working on this stuff, like addressing those issues.
There's a Discord chat you can join that basically has Phenom people working in to talk to, which I don't, do other sites even have that, like to speak to what you just said? Like I don't.
I mean, it doesn't. It seems like most sites are mostly motivated to like send you away from support and conversations, and there's not a lot of open conversations. Like we want to hear what you have to say, and like to iterate. Like I'm not like a 20-year casino operator or anything like that. Like I'm a 20-year poker player, and I am now very recently, working on this online poker project in Phenom. But like I'm coming from this first and foremost as a player who had feedback for other sites and they didn't want to listen to me.
Well, you
Right?
also have business experience.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean,
you
not to shortchange
basically
myself.
guided another business as the CEO, right?
Yeah,
that was successful.
Yeah.
Which to me was also important because I think like one of the things, we've all been in poker at this point. You're just like, oh, some investments come our way. It's not necessarily the best deal flow ever, but like in terms of the quality of them. But it's like one thing you've learned is when you're betting on a project, you're also very in large part betting on the person that's executing it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And
I
I
think
wasn't trying to
I think
like,
it's relevant. And
Yeah. I wasn't trying to like, undercut my, business experience and things like that. But the point I was really driving at is when I think about, our approach to why do we keep this line of communication open with the community? Why are we hell bent on like listening to player feedback and figuring out like what it is the players want? It's because I spent so many years as a player who was one of many, many players whose voice was just totally unheard, right? Like I was a high volume online player. I've been a live player. I've been a mixed game player, mostly a cash game player, so I also travel a lot, right? So I like the idea of like when I'm traveling in Europe, there's, you don't have the kind of game availability that you have like here in Vegas, where we are right now. You don't have the kind of game options. You don't have mixed games really in most other parts of the world. So it would be nice, to go to an online poker site and say, hey, like, why don't you guys spread these games, or why don't you, like Baldy brought up the chat box thing. That's a really interesting discussion even by itself. There's different lines of thought on like why sites got rid of chat boxes. But like one of the obvious kind of things that I think about, maybe I'm just a very skeptical person, is like, well, when you try to chat with bots, what happens? Nothing, right? Which is weird, right? And some of the now granted, we're still a small site right now, and like we're working on like building game availability.
You're gonna give people ideas. Probably with like Chat GPT now, someone could incorporate like
Yeah,
a language
yeah.
model into their bot. Now they're like, oh, we're gonna upgrade our bots.
Yeah. But like here's what's really funny is some of the early feedback we've gotten from players is like, hey, I've tried playing and like it something feels different. It's like I'm having more fun and it's like I really enjoy playing on Phenom. Like, what is it? And I just go, you're playing with humans.
Yeah.
And they're like, that makes sense. They're talking. They're not like acting every 1.4 seconds on the dot, and always like playing like perfect in the exact same way and everything. I was like, because you're playing against a human being, and playing against human beings is what poker is supposed to be, and it's fun. Right? Now, some of us take the game more seriously than others, and we study, and some players play for a living, and other players play recreationally, and that's all fine and good. Poker's like, that's one of the beautiful things about poker. It's like an open game that we can all enjoy, all skill levels, but it only works if it's a human versus human experience. And that's like ultimately like one of the biggest things that Phenom Poker, I think, shines is like we have zero interest in trading like more money for hurting our game. And I wish I could say that like all industry operators felt the same way, but it just simply hasn't felt that way for many, many years. And like, that's why we're here today. And I think some of the early things that we're seeing in the feedback and differences that some of our players are illustrating are proving that point to be true. So hopefully it keeps going that way. And I'd like to transition to, we put out in the last couple of days a request to the community to submit some questions for us to answer here in this podcast. Louis, where did you put those? All right. So we'll just kind of go through some questions I got submitted and try to get those answered. Now, nothing here was scripted or rehearsed or reviewed. I'm like literally going to pull this up and we're just going to go one by one through some of these questions.
I was going to make one more point just on kind of the human element. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the players are just appreciating being treated like a human and being treated like a customer. Like on a lot of these sites, you feel more just like a number or just like cattle going through the line, and it feels like there's this big corporate suck at the top of things. So I think people have like found it refreshing just to be like treated like a human. And I've personally been blown away at the tone that you guys are setting with dealing with people like naysayers, critics, skeptics. You know, it's always kept very professional, you know, like addressing the customer's concerns, no matter how, you know, they might be acting like, you know, a toddler at times, but like I've been blown away by that. And that's, you know, another reason why I'm optimistic and happy to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, we get people from like all walks of life, all over the world, different opinions. And we knew going in that like it wasn't going to be everyone and their mom saying like, oh, what a great idea. And like, that's going to work. You know, like you have like some people saying great idea, like I can't wait to try it. And you have other people saying like, oh, you're going to fail. That's not going to work. Mm-hmm. And, you know, to that, I just say like, hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Like we're doing this for our own set of reasons, you know, as like a group of poker players, and we have like 14 full-time people on the team now. We expect that number to grow. But, you know, we're a small team of mostly like longtime poker players, you know, with different business backgrounds, technology backgrounds, so on and so forth. But like all of us have one thing in common and that is like we have this mission that we believe in, that we're going to do everything that we can to execute on. And like we know that people are going to come and have their 2 cents to share. And that's okay. Like if you don't want to play on Phenom, you don't have to play on Phenom. If you don't believe in what we're doing, then don't believe in what we're doing. I personally believe more options is better for the player. So, you know, like if you want to go play on another site, if you like the, you know, gamified turn every poker tournament into just like a bingo contest, if that's your thing, that's cool, man. That exists. You know, if player rewards are important, or, you know, having equity in a poker site is like something that's never really been possible before, if that's interesting to you, then check out Phenom Poker, you know. Or if something else is important to you, tell us what it is, or maybe go to the operator who's offering that thing. You know, like we're not, our goal isn't to force you to do anything you don't want to do. And that's why you know, it doesn't bother me when people have their thing that they want to say, right? It's like, sooner or later, I think a lot of people will see that we are different and better for the players, and that'll lead to more people, you know, joining Phenom Poker. And time will only tell like what that's going to be, right?
Yeah. No, I think it shines through because, I mean, I know for me personally, part of the reason I got into poker is it is non-traditional. You know, you don't have to like feel like you're part of some big machine or something.
Yeah.
But you know, increasingly in recent years, you know, a lot of the major operators are giving it more and more of that feel. So
yeah,
I think that's one of the coolest things about Phenom Poker is like legitimately being able to be kind of that disruptor and take some of the power from that, you know, poker industrial complex or whatever you want to call it, especially when they're not addressing player needs and concerns. And some of them even go so far as to almost give like attitude, you know, like they've just got it backwards between like the player and the customer versus the operator. Sometimes it just feels backwards, like you're not being treated like a customer with some of the operators. So I think it's really cool to be able to be a part of something that kind of fights back against that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more.
I also think like from kind of tying into some things that we discussed before, I mean, like if you're looking at this as like a crypto person, I feel like you should be kind of excited about Phenom, and like this is why. And the reason is because, listen, I mean, I think Bitcoin has a very clear investment thesis, gone over it a lot already on this pod. It is what it is. But like the rest of crypto is supposed to be this like space where, you know, on Ethereum, on Solana, on this, it's like, oh, NFTs, oh, we're building these projects that are supposed to work as decentralized applications, and it's like free to use anywhere in the world and like supposed to be super cheap. And, you know, like ETH isn't super cheap. It is what it is. Like they've made a bunch of weird decisions, but it's like here for a long time, like that whole world has just been sort of a giant scam where like the valuations have gone up hugely and none of these projects ever did anything. They never worked. And like the L1s weren't really anything other than doing like farming and like other things. But it's like now
some projects are actually starting to escape. I mean, we've looked at Polymarket. Sweet. Dude, Polymarket, I think Augur back in the day was supposed to do 10 years ago or something what like Polymarket's doing today. Decentralized betting market. Awesome. Yep. Like poker, another great example of like something due to like banking regulations and a bunch of various problems. It's like, and wallet control, like, you know, you don't have to actually trust the funds as a counterpart, like trust the site as a counterparty for your funds. There are a few cool things that like crypto being like a way to do poker, like really is kind of a nice, cool way to do it. And I feel like people coming from the crypto side of things should look at Phenom and be like, okay, here's a site that seems to have good motivations and is really like doing it on where players control the money in their own wallet, you know, gets around the banking regulations in a bunch of countries because it's a crypto site. You know, you're can only pay using crypto. So that's like encouraging crypto adoption and all these things that are, you know, just looking at it from the crypto aspect are like pretty cool.
It's
right?
very cool. It's like a legit.
Yeah, people
like,
are actually using these like L1s to do something now. They don't just sit around like, you know, so it's like, okay, that's awesome. Like they're not all just scams, right? Like, I mean, it's like a strong word, but it's kind of.
Well, you know, I have like, because we've talked a lot about this kind of stuff, right? Like, you know, I have strong opinions on this. And for me, as someone who's also been interested in crypto for a long time, invested in crypto, invested outside of crypto, you know, Phenom Poker it's more than just like a poker site or a crypto site. It's a demonstration on what I believe is a more fair and equitable token and economic model that unfortunately is like very hard to find in the crypto sphere. Because 95+% of these projects out there maybe have cool websites, maybe have, generally speaking, cool ideas or whatever. But for 95+% of them, the product is the token, which is backwards, right? They should be trying to solve real world problems and build systems and technologies that enable some kind of progress in some industry or some use case. And that's not what ends up happening. What ends up happening is they have some protocol that nobody really understands, nobody really uses, but they have a token and they're shilling you the token nonstop, buy the token, buy the token, buy the token. It's supposedly a utility token, but all that really means is you're not owning a piece of anything, right? Like it's a utility token. It's only valuable if there's some like demand for the token. And then when you look at the project and there's no actual real world users, it's just people farming the token. Eventually the token gets rugged. It all goes back to incentive models.
Well, because what's really happening is the token is based on just pure kind of supply and demand economics of like, oh, this project is supposed to do this.
Yeah.
And now they're putting on exchanges, they're marketing it, like memeing it up. And
that's the product.
The token just goes up. And then, I mean, most of the time it's just kind of vaporware where like, whoever founded it, they've made millions and millions of dollars.
That's exactly
and then
right.
It's like, why work? Like, why actually do this?
Exactly right.
And Phenom,
what is their
actually
incentive
tied
to
the
continue?
Token price to how much rake is basically how much rake is being generated. So, like, the token price is it's not going to be on exchanges. It's not on exchanges.
Right.
So it's not this like abstract kind of supply and demand that ultimately ends up just taking advantage of like gullible investors.
Right.
Like, you know, this is just a token that's tied to how much rake is being generated, and it's a way, you know, it's like truly about like what Phenom's actually doing in terms of like its, you know, company mission as like a poker site, which, as you said, is not what's happening in the rest of the crypto sphere, and not why it's like, you know, people are like, oh, I want to get into crypto. It's like
there's no
that's
users.
why it's like buy Bitcoin.
There's no product. There's no revenue.
Yeah.
There's no sustainable business model. There's no long-term incentive. You know, once like the unlocks happen and founders are able to rug or sell or the early, you know, VC investors are able to dump, they all make their money. They leave you know, the people they shill the token to holding the bag, and then the project just withers and dies. We've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times in crypto.
And the reason was everybody got so excited about this idea of in the real investing world, like only like VCs get like these deals, like how can I get in Uber early and whatever. And it's like, wow, crypto's a real chance to just like democratically for anyone to be able to invest in something. And everybody's like, great. It's like I can look at all the crypto projects and which one's going to be successful, that they actually, which is really cool. But then the rest of it in terms of like, well, there actually needs to be a roadmap. The token actually needs to be tied to some sort of like thing that the project is accomplishing and increasing. And like, you need to make sure people continue working on the project. And like the people in the project, like real VCs invest, they get a big piece of the company. And it's like, they have, you know, all the interest and this and like what the actual people in the company, it's like lock up and, you know, they actually have to perform certain things. All that part of it, which is like the good investment side of like, in, you know, the economics of investing is just gone in crypto. And you gave the democratic ability to invest in something, but took out all the necessary kind of protections in the investment part that's in like the normal investment world that accredited investors and VCs get that most people don't have access to. So it's like, that's kind of is a shitty model. It's a shitty model that's like, marketed as like democratic is what it boils down to.
It can work if,
of course, it can work, but the point is, there's no protection sort of to make sure that it will work as a good model.
Yeah, and I to keep, you know, to make it the same point, like I think it comes down to incentive models, right? Like what is the founder's incentive to continue to work on the project once they've made millions of dollars shilling you their coin, dumping their coin to you?
Writing a thesis, white paper.
Yeah, a lot of them have nothing more than a white paper. All right, cool. So let's jump into the community questions, yeah?
Sure.
Sweet. Until I go into my next coughing fit. All right. So this came from Twitter. Is there anything planned with the avatars? Everyone has created super sophisticated avatars with clothing and weird moves and stuff, but we can only see each other's faces. Yeah, absolutely. So, like the 3D photorealistic avatars was an idea that we had. Is like one of the things that we're trying to do, and this goes back to like the human versus human experience, is we're trying to take like what a live poker experience is and try to replicate it online as much as possible, while still getting some of the benefits of like being able to play from anywhere. You know, being able to act quickly, multi-table, things that you can't do live. What we're not trying to do is we're not trying to go like fully in the direction of like online and live or just like completely separate, you know, take away chat, can't talk, can't do this, can't do that. Like you're looking at some, you know, like set avatar. I thought it would be really cool if you can see the person that you're playing with, like their actual face, right? This is really just the beginning. I think there's tons of possibilities, including like emotes, like animating the avatars. When you have, like, for example, you lose a big pot, maybe you want your avatar to have some emotional reaction. So you could just like click a button or just tap something and you know, they have that response. Maybe their head explodes or something. Like we've all felt that way at the poker table, right? And there's and then the other thing that we have an idea is like clothing, making NFTs where like you can actually have tradable like clothing, accessories. You could even do partnerships. Like for example, maybe we like partner with Versace and they, you know, so seriously, to make some like Versace clothing or whatever, and maybe it's like a special release or it's like opening a chest, or it could be like, or maybe you get a special, you know, special hoodie for winning a tournament or for placing in a tournament. And maybe that could be tradable too. So maybe you say like, maybe I want to put that on a marketplace or whatever. So we have actually a lot of ideas around the avatars. It's not like super high priority right now because we're focused on like stabilizing the system, adding tournaments and sit and goes, which I'm sure is probably going to be most of the questions. But we have other higher priority items right now, but it's something that we want to get to. So hopefully that answers that user's question. All right, next question. Is your team currently developing an app? If so, how far along is the process? When can users expect its launch? We actually have a built desktop app right now. Again, it's one of those things where we've run into some things in the last few weeks that have been like very high priority, which is taken away from finalizing like testing and release of that. But it is a desktop app. It'll be able to be downloaded on both Mac and Windows versions. And yeah, it opens up some more possibilities to like tiling and stacking tables. Some of the features that are more difficult in a web-based application environment. I don't have a release date on that, unfortunately, but we will get to that. Like I would say, within 60 days, we would expect the release of those apps. Don't hold me to that, but yeah, it's like, all right. Next question: what is your overall marketing strategy for attracting and retaining players in such a competitive industry? This is a pretty complex question. Because, there's not going to be just like one thing that you can do. And I'll also say this, like we get this question a lot. Like there's people will come and say, oh, the site volume is low and where are the players and things like that. And I totally understand. Like in a perfect world, like you have like a full feature rich app that's like bugless and flawless and ready to go. And then you just have like thousands of players that sit down and play like today. Unfortunately, like in the real world, it doesn't quite work that way. It is a very competitive industry. And there's like an order of things that have to take place before we go and spend like millions of dollars in marketing campaigns. Because what would end up happening is if we launched October 7th, right? And if we had launched October 7th and just like started spraying millions of dollars into the, poker advertising ecosystem, a lot of that money would have gone to waste because people would have come, they would have seen like some of the early bugs or things that we had to iron out. Like we took a lot of user feedback early to think like, what are the things that we need to rethink, like mobile experience or button placement, like really a lot of different things. And so we put it out there to really kind of that beta group, that early adopter group. And the most important thing to us was collecting feedback, right? Because the last thing I want to do is like take investor money and throw it out there and then it doesn't work and say like, well, that didn't work. That's not like a great strategy. What I'd rather do is take a more measured approach. And this is also the reason why we didn't launch cash games, tournaments and Singos all at the same time, because there's a lot of new technologies that we built, stuff that's never been done before on an online poker site. We have a lot of stuff on chain, a lot of complex parts, and all in all, like it's actually amazing to me when you think about how complex this application is. Like when looking at it from the code base, from the number of integrations, from it is one of the most complex projects I've ever seen. And I'm a tech entrepreneur and a tech investor. I've seen tons of code bases invested in, and I've hired lots of engineers. It's extremely complicated. So launching cash games made more sense to me because you can test all the different poker variants, right? Like Brian mentioned, all the mixed games that we have. You can test lots of different scenarios, 6-handed tables, 9-handed tables, people multi-tabling, things like that. Because when we do launch tournaments, which is slated to be here early this coming year, we expect a lot more volume. We expect our our volume and revenue to basically 2 to 3x almost overnight. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that like we understood the things that could go wrong. We understood the things that absolutely need to be fixed before you have like a much larger player pool coming in and playing concurrently. And yeah, so the strategy, going back to what the question was, it's really a multi-layered approach. Like we have our ambassadors who are obviously a big part in helping kind of build the trust and get our name out there to their own communities. They have all been instrumental in helping to get the early awareness out of like what we're doing between like, Rast, tweeting or making final tables in a big like WSOP event. Eric Baldwin has been winning events as he normally does in live events at the Venetian, at the Wynn, wearing Team Pro patch. He just always seems to be there. Hooney won a what was it, the 100K won the 100K at WSOP this year, wearing a patch. Sergio Ido won the 50K at WSOP this year, wearing a patch. Ben Heath has, playing Triton events. Like, they've all kind of have their own way of doing things. We do not dictate to them how they promote or how often they promote. A lot of them have also played on the site. We've been getting more active with getting that out to the community. The next layer of marketing after that is going to be a big push around like tournaments and singles. We plan to do a lot of advertising, display advertising, partnerships, affiliate advertising. We have a lot of that stuff being worked on right now. We're also going to get more active with blogging, doing more content like this, long form podcast content, both Phenom branded and outside of Phenom, like Table 1 podcast, for example, is done by Justin Young and Art Parman here in Vegas, and Justin Young happens to be a Phenom ambassador. I've been on Juggleman's podcast. There's a lot more stuff that we can do like that with some of the content creators, influencers in our industry, and then live events. And live stream is also a part of our strategy. So I don't want to divulge too much on this podcast. So some of those conversations are still early stage, but I can put out there that we are working on a live stream game, which I think is really cool because the focus will be mixed. And I know PokerGo has done some mixed stuff before, but most of the streams don't really do any mixed stuff. And as Rast alluded to, I think Phenom should be the home for every mixed player out there. Because like we're mixed players and we want to support and deliver a good product to that community as well as the rest of the poker community. So yeah, I think live streaming has proven to be good for drawing eyeballs to poker, and I think Phenom should have a place there. And then we're also working on other cool content strategies. So again, don't want to divulge too much because we're kind of working hard. Some of this stuff takes time to put together, but the person you can't see here, behind the scenes of this podcast, we have a full-time videographer, editor on staff with Phenom who is able to put stuff like this together. He's able to go and travel and get shots, and there's a lot we can do there. So, yeah, touched on a lot of points, but that's some of the marketing stuff. I can pause there if you guys have any questions. I know the ambassadors have also had questions around marketing. So if you guys want to jump in and ask questions or anything as well, please feel free.
I don't really have any questions.
All right.
Brian has one question. How much Bitcoin do you have? That's the big, Eric, what's your Bitcoin?
Eric, what's wrong with you?
What's your Bitcoin?
I don't know, man. Just trying to feed the fucking kids.
Did the mic pick that one?
Got him.
No, I'm in. I've been.
Oh, this is a good question, and it actually ties into something that was brought up earlier that we promised to talk about later. With other platforms offering affiliate commissions as high as 50%, how does your site plan to compete and stand out attracting affiliates? Yeah, so this is an area that I'm excited to talk about because we did launch Phenom Poker with an agent program, and we had a lot of agents express interest. I think something like close to 200 came and actually signed up to be agents of Phenom Poker. The vast majority of them have not started to bring their player pools over to Phenom yet. I think a major part of that is our original agent deal was denominated in Phenom tokens, whereas on other platforms, obviously, the agent commissions are all just plain U.S. dollars or whatever the currency might be. I think this was problematic for a number of reasons, but the primary reason being is that like we are such a new concept, and the Phenom token is really it's something that's never been done before. Not even in online poker, but like if you look at our tokenomics model and our revenue sharing component and the governance component and all the component, it's unique even in all of crypto. There are very few projects that are built like real companies and digitizing the asset class and of actual equity. This is something that's very new. It's something I've written about for years that I think I always thought was going to happen is the tokenization of real world assets, including tokenized securities, tokenized equity. But it's not something that we've really seen prominent rise of, and I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of it. But But the problem is, I think that they just simply don't understand the model well enough to take revenue that they're earning on another site that they can just know, like, hey, I'm earning, $5,000 a week, let's say, being an agent or affiliate for this site. And now I'm going to go over to Phenom and I'm going to earn some number of tokens. And I don't necessarily know what they're going to be worth or if I should hold them or sell them. And I think that has drawn some hesitancy, being such a new concept in such an early stage of the project. So what we did is we went back to the drawing board. We talked to the agents, just like we do with the players. We want to get feedback from the community. We want to hear what they have to say. Some of them are waiting for tournaments. So I think when we launch tournaments, we're going to see a big uptick in the amount of active agents on Phenom Poker. But before that happens, I think we're also going to see an uptick because starting Monday, we are launching and announcing a brand new referral program. Now, I don't know when this podcast is going to air, so it might already be live by the time you see this and watching this. But as of right now, which is Friday the 6th, my birthday, coincidentally.
Happy birthday, Matt.
Oh, Brian, thank you so much. Our new referral program is awesome. So the tweet mentions up to 50% commissions, but other sites do it a little bit different where they offer like a large percentage, like a gross percentage, and then they like deduct all kinds of fees or what they paid out in rewards or rake back, and it ends up being maybe closer to actually like 15%. And we've done a lot of research on this and talked to affiliates to talk about how it works and what they're actually making. So our new referral program, it's not just for agents. It's literally for anybody at all. Every single person has a Phenom account, has access to this. If you refer a player to Phenom Poker, you will earn between 10 and 30% of the rake that player generates lifetime. And there are no fees taken out of that. It also gets paid to you automatically every week in the denomination of your choice, and your choices are USDT or Phenom token. Remember, the Phenom token can be swapped for USDT at any time. So if you decide to take Phenom token and you want to change that into USDT the following week or the following day or even the same day, you can at the current price. And you can also change like a proportion. So like you can go into a referral dashboard, which is probably the most robust referral dashboard in the entire industry. It's very, very cool. And you'll be able to see it again starting this coming week. Right now, only agents can see it, but starting next week, everybody can see it. Ambassadors, players, agents, streamers, influencers, whoever has an account can see it. Very robust, lots of data. You can go in there and configure how you want to receive your weekly reward. You could say I want 50% Phenom, 50% USDT, 80-20, however you want. You can configure it. And again, you receive that for life. And the percentage that you earn is simply a function of the amount of weekly rake that's generated. So I think one of the questions that agents will have is, well, I'm an agent, I have a big player pool, I want to earn more money. You will. It's as simple as that. Like if you're a player and you refer a few people, you'll get 10 or 15% of your referrals rake generated forever as long as they play and generate. You can you'll get that bonus. But if you're an agent and you have a larger player pool, you're probably going to be closer to the 20, 25, 30%. Remember, there's no fees taken out of that. There's no we still reward your players and don't take out any fees at all. So that's your net is going to be 10 to 30%. Based on how much rake they generate. And also there's a bonus for bringing in new players. So there's always an incentive for you to add more people. But yeah, that's the answer to the question. The question is we recognize that was maybe a weak spot that we've seen, like the design of our original agent model. That's probably what triggered the question, right? You might have seen the agent model and said to yourself, well, that looks kind of cool, but I'm not I don't feel like I'm earning enough rake share. Or the rake share component is not, we heard you. We listened to you. We heard you. We redesigned everything. We also opened it up in a more kind of transparent, community-focused way where, someone brought up the good point of, well, these agents are earning these deals. These affiliates are earning these deals. Like, well, as a player, why can't I earn that deal? And I don't know if I have a good answer for that. If you refer people to the site and you're helping the site grow and you're an owner of the site, remember, because Phenom token means you're an actual stakeholder in Phenom Poker, maybe you should earn that deal. Why don't we just open it up to everybody? And that's what we did. So this is actually like brand new information for you, Eric and Brian, right? Because like you have as ambassadors, like you've seen some of the early stuff, but this is like brand new, hasn't been made public yet. What do you guys think?
Sounds great to me. Like, yeah, absolutely. I know kind of having like a 50-player minimum threshold for agents was probably like a big hurdle for a lot. So I think opening it up to absolutely everybody is just another exciting aspect. You know, even if you just have a handful of buddies you want to introduce to Phenom, you know, it's pretty nice getting, you know, 10 to 30% rake back on them for life. That seems like a deal that's pretty tough to beat.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of just having that functionality of going in, like seeing the list, deciding how you want to receive, you know, what percent Phenom token, what percent USDT. I feel like it's slightly like I was thinking about, oh, hey, like how should I, you know, try to get more people who are playing, you know, like maybe one of the times I go to Resorts World, talk to some of the guys in the next couple months, well, you know, about mix. Maybe I feel like kind of like waiting for the tournaments too is a pretty good, and like trying to, sounds like that's a moment where more people will be coming on the site. There'll probably be more liquidity. Like we're going to be doing some advertising because you're trying to set that up. So it's probably a good moment to, you know, just me sitting here as like, okay, I'm, you know, can take advantage of this as like a pro and a person who has a Phenom account, like maybe kind of waiting and doing it then. And then, you know, building up, you know, it's just a way to generate some income, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like if you think about it, like being a Phenom holder, you're getting a piece of the net income of the company automatically anyway, right? So like your goal should be like, well, how do I get more Phenom? Well, you can play and earn rake back, and you'll end up with more Phenom, and you can choose to hold it or swap it. But now there's yet another way to get rewarded for helping us build, you know, really what's an early stage venture. And it goes back to like democratizing access, which is one of the whole principal concepts behind Phenom Poker is like where else can you own a piece of a virtual casino, essentially, right? Or a virtual poker room. You can't unless you like want to go raise millions of dollars and try to start one and see how that goes. We've seen people in the industry try that, you know, to varying results. But in here, it's like without having to put any money in, without having to go and figure out how to be an operator or anything, like you can just tell your buddies who play poker, come play with me on Phenom Poker. And you can get more ownership of the site or just cold hard cash, USDT. Whatever, you know, your preference. I don't believe in locking people in, and I'm a big believer in optionality. I don't think you should corner someone into doing something. You know, give them the option and do as you will. But you can just earn passive income forever, and it can be pretty significant. You know, it doesn't take you know, a lot of players to generate significant rake, and in the old model. That's not any different than any other site, right? The difference is in the old model, all of that rake just kind of goes into the pockets of like a couple of people, right? You don't know who those people are, and you know you might see them every once in a while if you visit Monaco and you see the yacht over the corner, and you're like, "What does that guy do?" Like, well, he owns a casino.
I have a question for you. So I know in the site, in the little windows, you can see like what your account balance has in USDT and your account balance in Phenom tokens.
Yep.
Where do you go? Like, because I know it's like the treasury has, and you either like buy or sell at the rate that's decided each week of what Phenom's worth. Where do you go to do that if you want to either sell or Phenom tokens or buy them?
Yeah. So right in the window that you just described, it says Manage Rewards.
Yeah.
You click on that, and there's 4 tabs. And the far right tab says Redeem. And so if you click Manage Rewards and you go to Redeem, it'll show you the current price. You input how many Phenom tokens you'd like to redeem. It will show you how much USDT you're going to get. You click Confirm, and it'll just pull that Phenom from you and deliver you USDT
Or,
right away.
or the other way around.
It
Nope,
works.
not the other way around.
I've done
You-
it.
You cannot buy Phenom tokens.
Oh, okay.
I cashed in. I cashed in.
Okay.
I cashed in 10 Phenom tokens for USDT, and I'm hoping that ends up being like my expensive pizza story. But no, it's a cool opportunity. Like you said, you're not gonna. This is a unique opportunity, and it also just matches with a poker player's like lifestyle and their financial reality super well. Like the swing, anyone who's played poker for any amount of time knows that the swings can be just ridiculous. So like if you can play poker and you're doing that and dealing with those swings, if you can move your play to somewhere where you're getting rewarded with passive income, to like think about how nice that would be to have passive income, steady, consistent income coming in to help, just with your ridiculous day-to-day graph. Like all of a sudden you're taking that ridiculous day-to-day graph and you're just tilting it slightly a little bit higher, and like that's something that's more desirable to a poker player than probably any other profession. So it's just a perfect match.
We should start a series with that segment right there. Eric Baldwin, and it'll be titled "How to Tell Someone's a Grinder Without Them Calling Themselves a Grinder." It'll be like the swings, the graph, the swings.
So I'm already thinking about the allocation percentage. So it's like, so let me get this right. So you can set the 0 to 100, 100 to 0, whatever, if you do this.
Yep,
But you can't buy Phenom tokens.
that's right.
And it's basically whatever. I'm guessing it's like that moment every week where the price is set. Is it exactly like the 1-to-1 price versus Phenom? Like, let's say you did 100% USDT and 0 Phenom tokens. You would get USDT as if you just sold them at that price, at like 1-to-1?
Well, if you choose USDT, then the Phenom token has no relevance. So, for example, you refer players to the site,
Yeah.
right? And those players generate, I don't know, call it 10,000 rake. And your percentage on that is 25%. You will get, if you choose 100% USDT as your payout option, you're just going to get 2,500.
Yes, no, I understand.
Okay.
But if you got Phenom tokens, you would get the number of Phenom tokens at the rate that's decided at that like weekly interval.
Yes, the same.
So it
the same
seems
Monday
it
that
basically seems to me, if you want optionality, you could take 100% Phenom tokens and then just a day later sell it for 2,500 in USDT.
that's
Right.
completely up to you because there's no other way to get the tokens.
Yeah,
Right.
See, that's what I'm saying. There's not, because you can't buy the tokens, which I didn't realize.
And the reason why we
Yeah.
have the percentage is because, like, let's say you're an affiliate and this is like your livelihood. This is how you earn money, pay your bills. You know roughly how much money you have coming every week because you have the dashboard. You can see how your players are playing and what they're earning and everything, right? So you could say, okay, so I am earning, let's say this affiliate is earning $20,000 per month in affiliate commissions through Phenom, but they only need $10,000 in USDT to pay their bills and live and whatever. What they might want to do is they might want to take a 50-50 payout. So they take the 10K USDT, they're paying their bills and they're living, and then they're putting 10K into an early stage company stock that if they do their job and other affiliates do their job, everyone's doing their job, Phenom price continues to rise, and it's basically a long-term investment strategy, right? They might earn, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of tokens, depending on the price that they're earning them at, and that has the potential to 5x or 10x or 20x, and that could end up being a significant sum of money, not to mention the Phenom tokens are paying them additional USDT. So they're going to earn, the 10,000 USDT from their affiliate commission. They're going to earn however many Phenom tokens they're owed based on the difference. And they're going to also earn dividends, which is the revenue share component based on the tokens that they're holding. So this is what I mean. There's like actually many opportunities to earn passive income through Phenom Poker. And if they're playing, then they're also earning rakeback tokens, which can be swapped or held. So I think it's a truly unique opportunity. There's nothing else like that out there. The other site models are much more simple. You generate rake, the site gives you a little bit of rake back and keeps all the rest. So
I have a question. So when I was looking, it's like every week you earn USDT based on the amount of Phenom tokens you have, right? Or how does that work? Because I feel like every week my balance changes a little bit for some reason. Or am I earning Phenom tokens? I can't.
you're earning both. So when you play on Phenom Poker, when you play on Phenom Poker as a player, okay, you earn rakeback, and you earn that in Phenom token. We deliver to you every Monday automatically. Let's just say you earned $500 worth of rakeback, and the current Phenom price is 50 cents. You will get 1,000 in Phenom directly in your account on Mondays. What you will also get is you will get a USDT transfer that is the revenue share component based on how much Phenom you hold. Now, as an ambassador, you have a significant number of tokens, right? So every week, all Phenom does its rake. Half of that rake automatically gets distributed to all the token holders automatically every week. So you're receiving that in USDT in your account. So on Monday, there's two transactions for you. There's the Phenom tokens that you're getting as your rakeback, and there's the USDT revenue share that you're getting based on the tokens that you've held prior.
And when I was looking, is there a history where you can see what those numbers are for those transactions? Because I feel like when I looked in history, it was more like what I was getting from the tables or sending to and from the site.
Yeah. So those transactions are not, as of right this moment, are not in the transaction history log yet. Okay. We are getting them added. It's on our list. But if you just put in your wallet address into Polygon Scan, you can see everything that's happening with your smart wallet in Phenom Poker. You can see all your join tables, your leave tables, your withdrawals, your deposits, your revenue share. Every time you receive Phenom tokens, they're all in Polygon Scan. Now we need to get them in the app, make it a little bit easier for you, and we will. But as of right now,
it's actually pretty cool. Yeah.
All right, to wrap things up. Wow, that's a lot of cut. To wrap things up. One last exciting announcement. We've had lots of people in the community asking us about this, is for merch, Phenom merch. We've had some people wearing hats during WSOP, but we've been working hard to get some cool fully custom merchandise. We have our first lineup of hoodies, beanies, and hats that are going to be going up in our public merch store, hopefully in the next few days, maybe by the time this podcast airs. Baldy already has his. But Rast does not. So let's just show off real quick some of this stuff. Ooh. You want to do the honors, Rast?
Yeah.
I'll send it over to you. There's a little sleeve, but yeah, exactly. So that's going to be the full zip, which we have in 3 colors: black, white, which I'm wearing, and gray. Yeah. Lots of cool little details on there. If you look at the little zippers and stuff like that. Here's the gray. So I've been wearing these for this last week. They're pretty comfortable. They're scuba style. I believe what they call them, scuba style. They stay they're not overly hot. They stay pretty cool, and they're soft and comfortable to wear at the tables. You got a rubber chip here.
Oh, zip-up pockets. That's good.
Yeah, poker player stuff, right? That was one of the first things I said is every hoodie we make has to have zip pockets, right? Because we carry chips and cash and our IDs and player cards in our hoodie pockets, right? Nothing's worse than falling out. Sweet. Let's check out the pullovers. Thank you.
Oh, so these are different. These aren't hoodies.
They are, they're hoodies, but that's a full zip up hoodie.
The pullover hoodies. Yeah,
the pullover hoodie.
Yeah, no zip.
This is also, so when I saw the designs for these, I was more excited about the zip up. But when I actually put this on, this is like one of the most comfortable hoodies I've ever put on.
That looks nice.
And it also looks pretty sick. So you have this nice, so this is like, again, the material, I don't, it's like this scuba, like stretchy, it's like a stretchy cotton. And this just looks really nice. This like,
These are the same?
nope. That's a pullover.
No, I mean like the material.
No, these are they're slightly different.
Yeah.
Check that out, guys. What do you think of the full zip?
It's great. I'm gonna try on different things to see how they feel.
See this one?
All right, so a little different. This is another pullover.
Oh, this is a zip
Has
middle pocket. Oh wow. Like, you don't
yeah.
see that very often.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, so this is an all pattern pullover white with the purple strings. This one has like hidden pocket. So that one's like kind of more, the placement is more like traditional where you would expect your hoodie pocket to be. This one is like hidden. You can't actually, if you just look at it, you can't tell there's a pocket.
These are both large.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah. This one's small.
That's a small.
Too small.
Okay, that's a small.
What?
Yeah.
Louis, you brought a small. What's going on here, buddy?
I just thought about it when I put it on. I saw it. I'm like,
He's like, don't worry, we have your size for whatever you
What's
want.
that size? They're pretty. It's nice actually. It's comfy. Too small, but I like the design.
This is a large.
I love actually that because the problem with the pullover hoodies, they all have that pocket, but like
So that has like a hidden zip pocket on both sides.
is it a large? Is this a large?
That's a large, yeah.
Okay.
Wrong side.
Blooper reel.
I'm gonna take videos of it.
See, people thought Rast was just like a Hall of Fame poker player and ambassador, but really
Also
he's
clothing model.
a clothing model.
Multi-talented.
Oh, here we go. Oh, whoa! This pocket's huge. Oh my goodness.
Well, because the it's like hidden. They're a little further back.
Wow. We could just keep. We
He-
could keep like a human arm. In
Oh,
that's sweet.
and I almost forgot. We also have beanies. So 2 colors, black and
This is. I'm trying to
Gray.
remember what this reminds
Heather.
me of. I feel like this reminds me of like it's like the LV, where it's like at the print, and it's like a little LV or whatever. I don't know. That like.
oh, the Louis
How
Vuitton.
they put the little LV.
Yeah.
in the hole,
That
people wear those.
there was some inspiration behind that actually. Funny. Mike. So for those that don't know, my wife is French, and she's very much into Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
So she's also, this isn't a plug or anything. She's also starting a fashion brand. So she had some input on some of these designs, but I think they came out really well. So we have this gray hoodie, or gray beanie, black beanie.
You didn't draw all these up yourself, Matt?
I have zero artistic talent. Just to be clear, I have absolutely 100% zero artistic talent.
Yeah, let's see if this fits on here.
That's the ultimate test. Oh, that fits.
There we go. Who's gonna mess with us?
All right, and we also have the hats. So we have the black and gray, and then we have the all black, which Rast has been wearing throughout the podcast. And they're nice.
They're nice.
They're like good quality. They have, again, little details. You're not going to be able to see them in here, but like the lining here says Phenom Poker in purple. The like purple stitching here on the brim. This looks like really premium. Actually, I really like how that looks. Even the little tag here. So this is a basic trucker, strap, but even the little tag here has like the branded Phenom logo. I'm really pleased with how they came out. I would genuinely wear this stuff even if I had nothing to do with Phenom Poker, just because it looks cool. I like the colors. I like the textures. And this is available for purchase in our merch store probably by the time you can see this podcast. So we're excited to show this stuff off. I know some of you have been waiting anxiously.
Nice.
And that's a wrap, guys. Thanks so much to Eric Baldwin, local tournament crusher, and Brian Rast,
Legend of the game.
legend of the game, Brian Rast,
Fun conversation.
former poker player but mostly a BTC shiller these days.
You know, I think I'm a little busy right now with things, but I feel like I'm gonna probably. My guess is I'll end up playing more poker starting sometime in the next year.
Okay.
Because I love competing. I'm doing some trading now, and I like it, and I think times are really good for that. But like, I don't really love trading. Like, I'm kind of just doing it to
It's
make.
very stressful. I've
I'm
traded for years.
Kind of just doing it to make money because I've learned enough that I think I can do it. But we're sort of getting to like where, listen, Bitcoin, the long-term thing, but like I had a very bullish, as we mentioned at the beginning, like betting it's going to get to 100K and this, and you know, we're getting to the stage where that thesis is played out, and I don't know that I want to do it. And at some point I got to refocus my energy. So I don't know. There's big tournaments out there to play. There's mix, and I just haven't been playing quite as much poker, and I don't know. Like, want to keep beating all the young kids.
He's
Kind
got
of
the
show
look,
'em.
man. He's got
Yeah.
the look.
You know what?
I see the fire,
never ends.
And his voice got a little bit more
But
energized.
We'll see, you know. But like, so I don't want to commit because that's the thing I hate doing more than everything. But I just feel like there's a good chance that I'll play some. It's never going to be like when I was 10 plus years ago when I was in my 30s, but more than what's gone on in the last year, I think so.
All right. Well, you heard it right here. Look out for Brian Rast on the tables. And with that, we'll catch you next time.